Eric Bailey from Blood and Iron in Victoria.
And Justinder Singh from Blood and Iron, New Mexico.
I'm here to talk to you about common injuries in HEMA and how you can avoid them. First, we're going to talk about hyperextensions in a number of locations.
The wrist.
The elbow.
And the shoulder.
Some problems with hyperextending the wrist. You can see here how his fingers are ending up pointing further down than they need to. He's trying to get extra reach with this, but really all he's doing is stretching out the tendons in the forearm. One way to mitigate this problem is the handshake grip. Instead of the hammer grip, where your hand is perpendicular to the blade, you're going to shift the sword in your hand, allowing you to bring the tip more forward. This gives you greater reach without hyperextending your tendons.
Next, we're going to talk about hyperextending the elbows, or commonly known as tennis elbow. This happens from being overly aggressive, snapping out, and trying to get faster without actually being faster with the stroke. This can be fixed by working slowly, building the form, building the flow. So that way the elbows are not hyperextending, you're nice and relaxed with the elbows, and they're not overly bent, and at the same time not overly straight. And work on building up your speed until you can do it quickly as well as smoothly.
Another problem is overextending with the shoulder. This one is actually really easy to cause a big injury. I've actually seen someone pull their shoulder right out of the socket by swinging a sword in a rapier tournament. One of the problems with this is people are, again, trying to overreach. You see this in manuals referred to as chasing the rabbit. It's bad posture and bad form. You're not going to land a good cut like that even if you do hit. A better way of dealing with this is to keep the back straight, not overreaching, throwing your cuts in proper measure. Another thing that you can do to help with this is go to the gym and build up the muscles around your rotator cuff. This will help keep them in place.
Another common injury is knees, hyperextending and locking the knees. Especially when lunging, a lot of times we'll have a desire to get as far and deep into the lunge as we can get, and this causes the front knee to go over the top of the foot. This puts a lot of strain on the foot, the knee, as well as the hips. Another thing that can happen is when extending for cuts or lunges is collapsing the knee, where the knee turns sideways and folds in back towards the body. This puts a lot of strain on the outside tendons that run down along the leg. When moving backwards, it can also be possible to lock out the knee by straightening the leg. This puts a lot of pressure on it, and all of these different knee collapsing, straightening the knee, going over the top, they can all be devastating to the knee, especially if you've had previous injuries. It can aggravate them, and it can cause even more damage that can become lifelong problems. Ways of correcting these problems. Making sure when you are practicing to do the form and keep it slow at first until you're able to do it properly. Then build up your speed as you know that you have the proper form and you're not collapsing, hyperextending, or going over the top of your foot. Also, working on your stabilizer muscles, going to the gym, building up the muscles that are going to support the knee as well as the hip and the legs, which all work together to keep the knee stable.
Another problem is rolling ankles or toes. This can be incredibly painful if you do it, and a common way of doing this is by dragging your feet while you move. There's a lot of martial arts that teach specifically dragging the feet, but the more you pick your feet up, the less likely you are to hurt yourself like this. So remember to keep in mind that when your joints are hyperextended, any force going into your blade will transmit directly into those locked joints and cause further damage. This just exacerbates the problem that you're already creating with bad joint position.
And one thing to always remember, proper form is good. If we can't get proper form, we're going to end up with all sorts of injuries and not be able to continue with this thing that we love, HEMA. So, when working, remember to get the proper form first, and the speed can build in later.
Just remember, if you don't put in the practice, you won't get the results.